Welcome to the Bay of Islands in New Zealand's far north. Today we meet artist in wood, Guy de Toit.
The French call me Guy du Toit, Guy du Toit, Guy du Toit, Gideon Stephanus du Toit. I was born as Gideon Stephanus du Toit in South Africa a long time ago. I don't know how that happens. One day you wake up and suddenly you're on the other side of 50. Came to New Zealand 8 years ago, proud Kiwi citizen now. Went to live in France 4 years ago. My family call me Guy. My middle brother couldn't say Gideon, and now everybody calls me Guy. I'm a wood artist. The French would say, je suis content. I'm content. I'm happy when I'm covered in sawdust and man glitter and making beautiful things with my hands. Playing with resin and the contrast in colors. This had a great big hole in it where the wood was rotten from exposure to weather or worms or something. Took some red resin, put that in here. When it's nice and dry, I'll turn this probably into another clock. But again, look how beautiful that is. And I can imagine when this has been oiled a bit after it's finished, and that comes out, it'll just be absolutely gorgeous, and the red contrast against the bird's eye should be pretty good. All the offcut pieces, you could throw this away or burn it. I make little cheese platters from them. Piece of brie or camembert looks really good on this. The bigger pieces become serving trays. Pieces like this, it's quite cracked, so it's a bit dangerous to turn. Once I've sanded it, it becomes a really nice board for cheese or that kind of thing. Charcuterie boards, look at this, put a nice hole in there, it'll be glorious. It's just beautiful. As a kid I used to watch, a long time ago, I used to watch a TV program called The Jetsons, which were the follow-up to the Flintstones. And they used to have this home base in space, and this is my representation of Station Alpha, where they flew in with their little spaceships. So it goes from making bowls and platters and these kind of designs to something completely the other side of the spectrum. Really fine, really delicate, very nearly abstract art. This is one of the pieces that took me the longest to make. Probably about 80 hours. I don't know, I kind of lost count at one stage. I made this during the first lockdown. I was in the police and the military, so Anzac Day is quite important to me. And I made this for Anzac Day, that's why the poppies and the grey of the battlefield. So it's wood, it's all completely wood. It was freshly cut. And you'll see here and there, it's broken. I chose not to fix it completely because just as the wood is broken, so all of us carry our own scars and our own wounds. But it's what defines us as a people. So yeah, sometimes I make some things that are a little bit more complicated. Each piece has a story for me though. Every single piece I make has a story. And whoever eventually decides to make this their own, they'll know that there was a story and there's a piece of me as an artist, my energy that's in here. This is a piece of black Maori, the hardest New Zealand native wood. The Maori used to use this for their spears and so on. If you look at this, look at the rings. Can you imagine how big this tree was if this is only half the tree? And that's what a lot of people don't realize. I do like hiding things. So this being the land of the long white cloud, there's New Zealand. I took resin and very carefully mixed the clouds around. This is again the difference, as you just said, between a production woodturner and an artist. This is hidden. The person who buys this as a fruit platter or so on, they will know that it holds the secret. Nobody else will. And that makes this special. This is called the Comet of Chaos. It was my final exam piece at the school in France. And this is now the 8th of the series. It will be a smaller one. It's still a work in progress. But this gives you an idea of how much work is involved creating something like this, because it's completely hollow on the inside and it has a cap on. You turn it, you carve it, you sand it, you carve it some more, you do the finer details. This was airbrushed. I'll probably airbrush this one again, and it'll be the next one. Everybody who looks at it sees something different. A lot of people look at this and they see a jellyfish. For me it was always a comet. This was standing on the shelf the other day and a lady came in and she looked at it and she said, "This looks like the Dark Tower out of a science fiction movie."
True.
And I didn't think about that. So, yeah. Again, something different. Not traditional wood turning. And that's what I learned when I went to the school in France. They're so different. The French are probably the best wood artists in the world, in my opinion. You know, nothing personal. New Zealand has incredible wood turners. But the style that they have there is next level. Out of this country we've had a close friend and a mentor, Rowley Munro. Rowley is the top, I wouldn't even know what to call him, wood sculptor, wood turner in the world. Again, I mean, the stuff he makes is just next level. But where I spend maybe 80 hours on that bowl, Rowley will spend hundreds of hours on his work. And I'm very fortunate that I get to learn from him. Makes me happy. Something else I learned in the school, boule de canton, Cantonese bowls, captive spheres. These were made by the Chinese in jade and ivory. This particular one is made from French boxwood. I've won a few prizes. One of them was for making one of these at the Royal Easter Art Show. It's a single piece of wood with the other balls on the inside. It's very precise.
So you carve it from the inside out?
Well, it's completely turned on the lathe.
Yeah.
So it's turned, you make each individual hole all the way down and then cut them out. Then the next one and the next one and the next one. I was given this. This is not my own work. This is by the guy who taught me, Paul Texier. He gave me this as a present. Can you imagine the complexity and the precision involved in something like that? When the mood strikes me, I enjoy making jewelry. It's incredibly fine, very delicate. This was a piece of purple art. These are segmented earrings I made. I don't like wasting wood, so all the off-cut pieces I keep and I glue them together, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different pieces in here. I glue them and I cut them and I sand them and then I assemble my own jewelry. Not quite my style, but gorgeous. This is another gorgeous piece of wood. The drawing was done by a local artist called Ricky Lang. So I took the drawing, that's her original drawing. I built myself a little home-built laser. Found a piece of wood that I thought would complement this. And so we do those as companion pieces. And again, it's just gorgeous. This is not a native, this is good old-fashioned macrocarpa. But look at the patterns on this, it's incredible. Just gorgeous. these will become clocks. They're badly worm-eaten, not really safe to turn, but again, clock mechanism will go in here, and they'll become clocks. So all of these are clocks. Some of them are quite big. And you take some, I think this was Kori, take some Kori, put that over the clock face, and it becomes something really special. And then if you look at some of these pieces, look at this. It's not sanded yet, it's rough. Can you imagine what it's like when it's been waxed? It's just gorgeous. Sometimes I'll use resin to bring out the color, so red and blue is a nice contrast. The red from the beach, blue for the oceans. And when this is polished up, it'll just be spectacular. Being in Northland, I'm very fortunate that I have access to old pieces of swamp Kori. Look at it, it's alive. Can you imagine what it'll look like when it's done? Makes me happy. The chunk that this came off was 2,500 years old, this piece, but this piece is estimated to be 40,000 years old. So can you imagine? This tree was around twice when the Earth changed its magnetic poles. Found this piece, and when I found it, it already had this curve in where the handle is. The Maori used to have in their waka bales to bail the water out, and when I saw this, I just knew that this was a bale. So I did a resin pour. It's a bit dark at the moment. I did a resin pour to show the water that was still in here, and I carved it just to round it off a bit. But I like that ruggedness, because the other thing is they used to have these rocks that served as their anchors. So this kind of is a dual purpose. As you can see, it's substantial. But this is kind of abstract, but kind of not, but it tells a story. This piece I called whānau, because it's got the father, the mother, and it's more than just a family, because it's the cousins, it's the children around you, it's everybody. And it's a really important part of who we are, looking after one another. Especially in smaller communities like this, everybody knows everybody. And we're all a whānau. It's a Rimu base, and I like the really big base, because for this, it's the solidity, the foundation of who we are. And really big chunky blocks of swamp Kori. I like it, I think it's gorgeous. This is Totra bird's eye burr. You can't find this anymore. All this wood was burnt or used for fence posts or houses. This stuff is so rare. And when you put a bit of oil on it, it really comes to life. Look at that. And for me, it's just incredibly precious. This bowl, I will try, it's quite cracked. I will try and save the inside to take 2, maybe 3 bowls out of this one chunk, so as not to waste such a precious resource. So you walk the beaches and the rivers after floods, and these enormous trees float down, and you take your sharp chainsaw and you go and recover pieces, and it starts looking like this. And then you get to work and you see what you've got, and it's worm eaten because it's been lying around for a long time, but then you start chipping away and you see what's hidden on the inside. And then it's sometimes the skill, sometimes the inspiration of seeing what's in here and what you can do from it. It's a journey, we spoke about it early. This is a seed that started and grew into a tree, somehow ended up being felled, or whether it's storm or cyclone, and from that it becomes a piece, and that piece goes on to become a journey of somebody's life. I try not to waste any of the pieces, so even the smaller pieces, I'll cut them up, I'll save them because they're precious. And maybe a small box, or maybe some jewelry, because trees are so much more than just trees. They're homes, they're nests, they give us shade, they give us oxygen, they feed the earth, they hold the earth together against flood and erosion. I don't think we always appreciate what we have. This is where the really fine work happens. So I'm always busy with 1 or 2 or 12 or 16 pieces. At the moment I'm working on some jewelry. So I carve these again, are purple art. I'll carve them and then sand them and then polish them. It will be a companion piece, a his and a her, eventually. This is another one of my balls that I'm working on. This will be a honeybee once I'm done with it, but it's a lot of work still to be done. I have to be in the right frame of mind to finish them. This will be a flower vase, black walnut and turquoise. At the moment I'm trying to decide what kind of legs to put on here. This is spalted sycamore, I think. So it's between spalted sycamore or rimu as to what the legs will be. it starts off as this really unbalanced hunk of wood, and by the time I'm done with it, I'll try and keep some of this to show the natural edge, but it becomes fluid and gorgeous. Gorgeous. So I won't finish the whole bowl because I'll keep you here all day.
No, that's
But that gives you some idea of some of the process. So it goes from that hunk of rough wood to the beginnings of the bowl. And I guess for me the thing is that a lot of people think of wood turning as making stairs and balustrades and bowls. And when I started, that's the kind of thing I did. But when I went to the school in France, I discovered a whole world of wood turning that I didn't even know existed. And it changed from being a wood turner somewhere along the line to being a wood artist, creating artistry from wood. So while I do make bowls, and there are different kinds of bowls and different ways of making bowls, I also make a lot of art. And when it comes to wood like this,
which is beach bird. It's really incredibly rare, and B, it's so beautiful and so figured that to enhance this, you might put a line around the rim or so on. But you kind of let the wood speak for itself.